Thank you for joining us this morning. Happy Halloween. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping I would see some costumes in here, but maybe we've got fun socks on or something. My name is Natalie Unwin-Curinary. I'm Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs at the Climate School. I'll be moderating today's student panel, and I'm joined by 6 students who represent 6 of the climate sustainability programs that Columbia offers. So you've heard from the faculty, now you're going to hear directly from the students. They're here to share their experience in their respective programs and to answer your questions. Our goal is really to help you understand what each program is about and hopefully give you some clarity about which one might be the best one for you. You're going to hear that there's no one typical profile of a student that comes to these programs. They come from a variety of backgrounds and sectors and experiences, but everyone shares a desire and a passion to gain the knowledge and tools to affect change in the world and address the very real impacts of climate change that are happening right now. So I'm going to introduce each panelist by reading their very impressive bios, and then I'll pose a few starter questions, and then I'll turn it over to you to make sure that you can get your questions answered. So immediately to my left is Grace Cogley. She's a student in the MA in Climate and Society program at the Climate School. She graduated from William & Mary with a double degree in anthropology and environmental science. At William & Mary, she nurtured her passion for Indigenous rights and representation by conducting research on Indigenous knowledge and emergency management in Southeast Virginia. She brings this passion for climate justice and equitable representation in the climate adaptation space to her time at Columbia. Next to Grace is Evan Moretti. He is a student in the inaugural class of the MS in Climate Finance program at the Climate School, where he is president of the Columbia Climate Graduate Council. That's our student government. He graduated with a BA from Duke's Sanford School of Public Policy, where he also pursued a focus on Eastern Asian politics and U.S. relations. Before Columbia, he worked as a financial data analyst and as a brand strategy and market research consultant. Evan's passion for climate solutions comes from his experience conducting sustainability research within the energy industry. And he's pursuing the MS in Climate Finance degree to better understand how to drive capital to mitigation and adaptation projects. Next to Evan is Fabricio Correa Lara. He's a student in the inaugural MS in Climate program at the Climate School. That's our 2-year degree. He graduated from the Universidad Iberoamericana in Mexico with a BA in International Business. Fabricio co-founded Regenerative Seeds, a community-led initiative that works with waste pickers in the outer parts of Mexico City to promote capacity building and regenerative livelihoods. Through this work, he's also part of the Global Shapers community, which is a World Economic Forum initiative empowering young people with high-impact projects for sustainable change. Next to Fabricio is Tarlee Dahn. She's a student in the MPA in Environmental Science and Policy program at the School of International and Public Affairs. She graduated from Babson College and is passionate about advancing solutions at the intersection of business, sustainability, and public policy. Before Columbia, Tarlee worked as a policy associate in DC, where she conducted research and supported clients on clean energy and climate initiatives. Originally from Liberia, Tarlee began her professional journey working with nonprofit organizations, where she contributed to the implementation of community empowerment projects. Next to Tarlee is Shawronna Sengupta. She's a student in the MS in Sustainability Science program at the School of Professional Studies. She graduated from UCLA with a dual degree in music performance and geology. As a NASA-developed intern working with NASA Earth observations, she's currently conducting agroecological research using remote sensing. She's passionate about understanding how geologic and surface processes shape human systems and environmental resilience. Before joining NASA, she worked with the Carbon Tech Development Initiative at Columbia Technology Ventures and the Marine and Polar Geophysics Division at the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. And last but not least, we have Kierra Holowachuk. She's a student in the MS in Sustainability Management program at the School of Professional Studies. She graduated from Western University in Canada with a dual degree in robotics engineering and business administration. Currently, she's the president of the Circular Economy Club and vice president of programming for the Biodiversity Club. She's a teaching assistant for courses on circular economy, life cycle assessment, and analysis for energy efficiency. Those are 3 separate courses, while also doing independent research focused on urban ecology and optimizing ecosystem services. Beyond academics, she volunteers with the New York Academy of Sciences, including teaching students about STEM. So, wow, super impressive profiles from all of you. I do not think I was this active in undergrad or grad school, so amazing. So I'm going to start with Grace, and the first question is, can you share a bit about your climate environmental sustainability story? What led to your interest in a very mission-driven program, and how did you select the right one?
Okay. I started out my undergrad degree at William & Mary, kind of thinking I was just going to be an anthropologist. I was really interested in ethnography, really interested in learning more about indigenous cultures in the United States. But then through my time at William & Mary, I kind of learned that there was a very Western-focused perspective in a lot of environmental activism, and I knew that a lot of indigenous people had TEK, which is traditional ecological knowledge, and IK, which is indigenous knowledge. And from there, I kind of became passionate about learning more about that. And I wanted to get to know how I could use those like IK and TK in the climate space to make adaptation more effective. Yeah.
Great. And what kind of led your interest in this program?
Oh, yeah. So basically, this was just the perfect overlap. I knew I needed to learn more about policy, how to make things actionable, and this was the perfect way that I could learn more both about climate science, but also how can I learn more about policy, but also the things that I was initially interested in, like indigenous rights.
Thank you. And Evan?
Yeah, I love telling the story. So my first job in Manhattan was a market research and brand strategy consultant at a firm called Ipsos. It's a gigantic market research firm, and I was on the strategy consulting team. And what I quickly realized within a year is that every single project I was on had a sustainability component, interestingly enough. In every survey, every question we asked, every expert interview we did, pretty much regardless of the industry. And what ended up happening is my capstone project, my largest work, was with one of the largest energy firms in the world, and we were tasked with understanding what the EV landscape was going to look like from the consumer's perspective globally for the next 10 years. And we were in a position to really get in the room with decision makers and talk about how consumers were viewing sustainability. And the result of the project was complete disappointment, because what ended up happening is not only did our team not really have the tools to interpret the results that we're getting, though we were getting amazing results about how the world was changing, we couldn't really communicate them in terms that our clients understood. So I came to the MS in Climate Finance program specifically to bridge that gap.
Thank you, Evan. And Fabricio?
Yes, of course. So I come from Mexico. I'm from a state called Michoacán, which is like 4 hours away from Mexico City. And as I was growing up, I saw, so Michoacán is a place where there's a lot of lakes, and a lot of the communities depend on the lakes. And I saw, as I was growing up, how these lakes were retreating and how the environment was degrading, right? And at the same time, I saw how with this violence increase, right? But I didn't really understand the implications or the relationships. And then I went to Mexico City to study my bachelor's. At the time, there wasn't anything about environmental or sustainability as a bachelor, so I did international business. But at the same time, I was in the climate sphere sector in Mexico City and in Mexico in general. So I started to know people, I started to learn about different things. I get into an organization here. It's based in the USA. It's called Kiss the Ground. So I learned about regenerative agriculture and how soil erosion and how water conservation must be like treated. And I started to just get involved, you know, and learning a little bit by a little bit. I got the really interest of having like the technical knowledge, like the know-how of how to do these things, to understand it in a deeper level. And I just started researching, and Colombia was a great option with the two years degree program, as you said. And I think it was a perfect time to really like learn everything, coming from a background that it's not in science, for example, you know.
Thank you. And Tarlee?
I would say my interest in sustainability really developed from the challenges that I saw around me. I grew up in Liberia, and I would say it started back in high school. I always enjoyed volunteering and doing extracurricular activities. And one of the biggest challenges that I saw in Liberia was around poor waste management and pollution. So I spent a lot of time working with other young people to organize like beach cleanup campaigns and awareness programs. And I remember one of the major campaigns that I worked on was after a mudslide happened in Sierra Leone in 2017 that killed hundreds of people. And seeing the photos and having to talk to communities about it really made me to think a lot about the impact of climate change on communities. So when I did my undergrad, it was in business administration, but I concentrated in environmental sustainability. And I did a lot of internships where I got to work on climate and energy programs. And before this program, I was working as a policy associate in Washington, D.C., and my experience really made me to see the impact of having good policies and also implementing them well. And this program in environmental science and policy just seemed like the right program to prepare me more to gain more expertise. So that's what led me here.
Great. And Shawronna?
Yeah, so I experienced quite a lot of natural disasters growing up, whether or not they were climate related. And so that made me really interested in learning more about kind of earth processes and just environmental science in general. But my undergrad was very academia focused. Like all the people there, like all of the other people I was studying with went on to do PhDs in very kind of more abstract things. And not saying that that isn't great, it is, but I just wanted to learn something a little bit more applied. And so I came to this program to kind of fill those gaps. One of the great things about the sustainability science and management programs, which are the two I'm the most familiar with, is that the professors are from all sorts of backgrounds, whether they're from, academia or industry, and the classes kind of prepare you for whatever it is that you're looking for. And so yeah, I really came here to get that kind of exposure and to really kind of broaden my horizons, and also to be to position myself in a way that I can be a competitive candidate for industry jobs as well.
Thank you. And Kierra?
I think for me, I've always had some type of sustainability impact growing up, or at least tried to do different initiatives there. But it wasn't really until undergrad that, in my final year of undergrad, I learned this term, systems thinking. And what systems thinking is it's really a framework or a different type of mindset where you look at all the different stakeholders within a system and looking at how they all interact with one another. And then from there, trying to look at different leverage points of how to, for example, make a system from linear to circular. So that really interested me, and coming from an engineering and business background, I learned both of those degrees almost independently, but it wasn't really until I found out systems thinking that it clicked, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the merging of both degrees in one. So I was like, this is the program, this is my calling, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Fantastic. So next question is related to classes. Electives and cross-registration is a popular question among applicants. So can you share with us which course you have enjoyed most as your elective and why? And we're going to boomerang back. So Kierra, we're going to stick with you and come back down the line.
Wonderful. My favorite course, special shout out to Dr. Buckley and Cindy over here. My favorite course was, it was actually a sustainability science program course where it was in the summer. It was the first time it was run, and we went to the Cayman Islands. And why I felt like this was so impactful was because we looked at the biodiversity of not only independent habitats, but also how they each one interact with one another, and looking at, different civilians there and how does that impact, like very systems focused. But not only that, but you really got to see experiential learning. It's one thing learning the theory in classroom, but then seeing it in person, seeing coral reefs like bleached and understanding why, and then also management strategies. So giving that hope to be able to make an impact and make a difference. There is another course being run in January for Vietnam. So highly recommend.
Shawronna?
It's really hard to pick one. I've enjoyed a lot of SUMA courses as well, and I had no idea about anything econ or business related before taking a lot of the SUMA classes that I did. But as I started getting towards the end of my degree, I started missing geology a little bit more. So I'm currently enrolled in kind of a more mining-focused class. It's been renamed to, I think, Sustainable Mineral Production and Metals. And it's taught by 3 different professors, 2 of which are from industry. Oh, and it's in the engineering school. 2 of which are from industry and 1 postdoc in the Department of Earth and Environmental Engineering. And it's been fascinating because 2 of those professors came out of Columbia Mining School, which doesn't exist at the moment. So to have that kind of knowledge base and to learn from them has been incredible. And a lot of the things they've been talking about, like mines of the future, what that's going to look like, are, something that hasn't even been properly visualized yet. So to be able to have an interaction with people who are thinking about that, who are trying to visualize it, I think has been really special and unique.
And Tarlee?
I have a lot of courses this semester that I really like to, so it's hard to pick one. But I'm taking a class right now that's focused on financing the clean energy transition in emerging markets. This is taught by 2 professors who also work at the Center on Global Energy Policy here at Columbia. And I've really enjoyed the class because a lot of the times we're talking about, yes, we need the transition to clean energy, but we really don't think about what that would look like for emerging economies. So this class has really made me to think about some of the critical issues that we need to consider and the systems that we need to put in place to really make that transition possible for everyone as we're trying to align our climate and energy goals. And it's been an amazing experience. I'm learning from the professors, but I also feel like I'm learning a lot from the other students that are in that class too.
Fabricio?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's very difficult to choose. But talking about cross-registration, I'm doing actually a class about drugs and politics in the Americas, which is really in interest with my personal interest, because I want to see the relationships between violence, organized crime, and environmental degradation. And it's in another school. Actually, it's in Bernard College, which is great. It's beautiful over there, and it's great because the professor really gets into what I want to do with environment. And now I'm doing a research position with him, so that's been great. And the core classes of MS, which I'm also with the MA and the MA in finance. It's been great. I love dynamics, for example. It's difficult, but it's challenging, and we have a great time. I think I'm with both of you on Thursday, with Michelle Abiusati, and it's been really fun,
Great. Evan?
So the MS in Climate Finance program is structured a bit differently. The first thing I'll say is that every course that you do not take in the climate school will be at the business school. The other thing is that I am not taking any electives the first semester, as are the vast majority of climate finance students, because we have a pretty set curriculum, and it's pretty challenging. That being said, there are 2 answers I'll give. The next semester we have the most opportunity to take courses in the business school. The most sought after electives are financing energy infrastructure and climate tech. One thing I'll add on that is that taking courses alongside MBAs is really fun to get the business side of things and to get the project level focus. It's a very good complement to the first semester in the MS in Climate Finance program, which is more you get a broader view, maybe at the international and national level, that contrasts really well with the project level view. The final thing I'll say is that my favorite course right now is with Professor Sachs, who is just on the screen, International Climate Finance, because it helps you answer the question, how exactly do you get the money to the places that have the most impact?
And Grace?
Yeah, so I'm only taking 1 elective this semester, but it's super interesting. It's about food systems and migration, so thinking about how when there's a shock to the system, which we expect to see more of with climate change worsening disasters, how does that affect movement of people either across borders or within the country. It's been super interesting. I've learned a lot, learning how to code for the first time. Very good skill to have, I think. And yeah, I'm learning a lot with Dr. Michael Puma, and he's a great professor. Highly recommend that class. And I'm really excited. Next semester, as Evan said, we'll get the chance to take more electives. We have more opening in our schedule. So there's a class that I'd really like to cross-register. It's in the anthropology department. It's called Ethnographies at the End of the World. So looking at ethnographies from places, where heavily hit by disaster, kind of thinking about how climate change is impacting populations from like a more anthropological, ethnographic perspective, which I think will feel very homey for me. And yeah, so very excited for that. But yeah, my favorite class that I'm taking right now, I think, is actually within the our required courses. It's a climate justice class. So really thinking broadly about how a lot of policy is affecting, smaller populations or minorities who are maybe more vulnerable to the effects of climate change.
Thank you. The next question is, what is one piece of advice you would share with a prospective student planning to enroll in your particular program? And we'll start with you, Grace.
Yeah. So, this is a very intense one-year program, so definitely hit the ground running. There's a lot of opportunities to get close with your fellow students, and that's what I would recommend the most, is trying to meet as many people as possible. You can learn so much from the people around you. Everyone is so accomplished and has so much to offer. So I think making the most of those connections while you're here, and building a relationship. So when you guys leave and you're in New York, you have like a network of people you can stay in contact with. And the other thing I'll say is definitely take advantage of the climate school events. That's probably where I've learned the most, like, specific knowledge. There was a panel the other day that I went to about COP30 and Colombia's involvement, and that was just super eye-opening. There was a lot of information that I learned, and you get to talk with people who are actually going to these events, who are actual practitioners in the field, who also happen to be our professors. But yeah, it's super nice. Definitely take advantage of that.
And Evan, one piece of advice for the MS in Climate Finance program.
Trying to take advantage of every opportunity that has been handed to us in this program is like trying to take a tour of every apartment in New York City. What I did before coming to this program is I actually called current students so that I could get an idea of which apartments to visit and what opportunities I should pursue, what groups I should join, etc. I'm currently involved in 2 startup groups, which is adding a lot to my plate, but just to give you an idea of, what life looks like for the students, if you're not looking and reading every day about what's going on campus and what people are trying to do to solve the climate crisis, you're going to miss out, and that's the biggest challenge.
Fabricio.
Yeah, I think for me it's just as an international student also, I think it's important to plan ahead when you get into the program. It's a 2-year program, so we have a little bit more time to think about, work search after that, because it's 2 years. But it's also, I think, important to learn to sell yourself, to know, to pitch yourself in 1 minute. I think the networking that you do is like daily in events. You meet people, professors. So it's important to know, like, what are your core values? What do you bring to the table? And do it quick, do it fast, and do it appealing to people. And that's how you connect with a lot of people. The network here is amazing, and there's a lot of opportunities to do. Yeah.
Great. And Tarlee.
So the MPA in Environmental Science and Policy program is also a 1-year program, and it's very intensive. Now that I'm in it, I feel like it's going so fast. So I would say when you're here, try to enjoy the experience in that 1 year. and also balance what you have to do academically, but find things to do outside of classes as well. I cannot emphasize enough the amount of amazing events that happen across campus. So definitely intentionally put time in your schedule to go to some of those events. And also be somebody who is collaborative, because you'll be doing a lot of group work for classes.
Very true. Shawronna.
So I'm in the sustainability science program, and most of our classes are in the evening. And as a full-time student, my entire morning has been open. So, or at least it started off that way. It didn't last very long. For me, it was relatively easy because my advisor, who's right there, Cindy, she sends us every single opportunity by email. It feels like I'm almost spoon-fed. I don't have to look for anything, which has been fantastic. Some of the opportunities I've enjoyed the most have been at Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, which is in the Palisades. So there's a free bus you can take. It's about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how lucky you are on traffic. But there's so many professors there, all focused on a variety of different disciplines within earth sciences, and they all kind of try to involve students as much as possible. And I've had opportunities to go out on a boat, go coring in Connecticut, all sorts of stuff in the morning. And so, yeah, I think if you're full-time like me and you have that opportunity to, kind of explore opportunities in the morning, definitely take advantage of that. Yeah.
And Kierra.
So I'd like to emphasize that you're a student, but you're also a student in New York City. So you need to embrace the New York City opportunities, whether that's, networking, as my fellow panelists said, but also entertainment. Make sure you're going to Broadway. You gotta enjoy and embrace the New York City life. But something that really surprised me moving to New York was how much green space and how much interaction you have with nature in New York, whether that's in Central Park, Riverside, Morningside, even along the main strip of Columbia, Broadway, there's those medians there with green space there. So really, having that busy New York City feel and embracing that, but also finding your own grounding space within New York and reminding yourself why you're in this program, what nature means to you, and how you can grow from that as well. Lamont is amazing. It's only between 30 to 50 minutes away. Highly recommend that. As well as, last thing I'd say is push yourself professionally, but also personally as well. Through loving the green space around New York City, I started running. And it's kind of funny to say that now I'm qualified for the New York City Marathon next year, which if you asked me a year ago, I could barely run 500 meters. So do something to really push yourself in every single way possible, because New York City is amazing, and just embrace it.
Great advice. With that, I think we'll open it up to the audience for questions. We have Caitlin and Maria with mics again. So I see a hand over here.
So, kind of a two-pronged question. The price tag for a lot of these programs is potentially very prohibitive to a lot of students. Off the top of my head, I remember the MS in climate is over $100,000. And then that has the double whammy of moving to New York City. I'm from Alabama. This is bigger than my entire state. So I'm unfamiliar with living in this densely urban environment. In what way did the university, faculty, other students help with both paying for these programs and transitioning into the city if you're from outside of it? And were there any ways that they perhaps not fell short, but maybe left more to be desired as far as the support that they could provide and may provide in the future?
I'll open that up to whoever wants to jump in first.
I can.
Fabricio, go ahead.
So yeah, that was a big thing for me also, money-wise. So there's a lot of scholarships opportunities here, and I think even with the scholarship, living in New York, I came from Mexico, so earning in pesos, it's also the exchange is not that good. So yeah, it was difficult, I think, but there's also a lot of opportunities, and once you get accepted and you have the letter of acceptance to the university, I think that also opens the doors to search for more scholarships. At least that's what I did. I had the scholarship and the letter of acceptance, and I was just knocking on doors, saying, So I have this money, I have this acceptance to this university, and I'm searching for more opportunities of scholarships to be able to pay for it. And that's how I ended up with another scholarship, a loan also. So I did a lot of like mixing those things, and that's how I was able to afford it. And in your question about like, coming to New York, not knowing a lot of people, or how, people in the US live relative different from, I don't know, Alabama, you said, or to Mexico, for example. I think the university like focus a lot on, bringing people together in different respects, It could be sports, it could be just like, we had like a silence disco the other day in the university. So there's a lot of things that you can find your crowd, and the people here is amazing, at least for me in the program, they've been like super, super nice, super open arms, always asking like, how is your apartment? How is everything going? We go out together. So I think it's a really tight, close group that it's really makes you feel at home, even if you're a little bit far,
Does anybody else want to tackle the financial question?
To also add to that, I would say I definitely recommend applying early, and then once you're in, you start to look for other ways to support yourself financially while in the program. I feel like there are a lot of opportunities you can apply to once you have that admission. And then with support from the school or faculty, what I really did was to reach out to email people and tell them what I needed, and that was helpful because even a few weeks until the program, I did not have housing, so I emailed a lot of people. I reached out to current and former students, and I ended up finding housing through some WhatsApp group chats, so you never know. Just reach out to people, tell them what you need, and just be open about where you need support, and a lot of people are usually willing to help.
And I would just say, each school's admissions office can direct you to different scholarships. The programs have varying amounts of scholarships that they provide. There are a lot of on-campus work opportunities as well. The teaching assistant positions, there are internships, all of those are paid opportunities. And those, for international students, if you're working here on campus, international students can start working on campus once they arrive. So there are other ways to kind of earn money and supplement, and there's a lot of support in the programs if you're struggling in different ways. So I hope that answers your question. Great. Other questions over here?
Listen, hi, my name's Vial, obviously prospective student. So wanted to say thank you guys for talking about each of your personal journeys. I think every person here has their own niche, and I think in general people in the climate space need to carve out their own niche, and that's kind of what I'm figuring out a little bit too late, that I need to figure out my own niche. And I wanted to ask about how you guys figured out is specifically what area of climate you wanted to work in, and how Columbia kind of school, the network, its resources has helped you further discover that if you haven't already come into Columbia exactly knowing what you want to do.
I can take that. So, I think my journey was not very linear, and I think when you tell it piece by piece, it sounds like it was simple, but I think it's all kind of while you're in undergrad or wherever you are now, just kind of learning more about the climate space, but there's also no pressure. If you don't know exactly where you want to end up, just keep your mind open. And I think also Columbia has so many, once you get accepted to the program, Columbia has so many classes you can take. They have, you can listen to other people's stories and just get inspired by the space around you. There's also Climate Week in New York, which is one of the first kind of big events that you do while in New York, and just try to go to as many events as possible. There's so much happening in the city, and it's really okay if you don't know exactly where you want to end up in the climate space. A lot of people change their journeys a lot, especially in climate change and in the climate space, because it's such a big issue. And you might kind of want to, maybe you're interested in climate change, but you're more interested in policy. Maybe go down that road and see where it takes you. You might be surprised where it ends up, and definitely just just try to learn as much as you possibly can.
Oh, could I jump in?
Yeah.
Agree 100% with Grace. I'd like to also emphasize you are not too late. Definitely not. I also felt like in your position not too long ago, and you almost exactly like how you tell the story. It seems so simple, but it was eventually once really sitting in and thinking about it that I realized, for me, for example, I don't have a specific problem. Obviously, okay, problem like climate change, yes, I'm trying to, but specific niche that I narrow myself into. And for me, it's systems thinking, so it's how problems relate to other problems. So definitely, you're not too late. And just learning more about climate change from different perspectives, from different stakeholders, knowing how you can influence the system in general, I think you'll naturally find your path and you'll naturally find your people. Sorry, I think I might have stepped in. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries. Just want to jump in very, very briefly for that. In the climate school, so the 3 degrees within the climate school, I think that the climate core positions you very, very well, very early on to help you answer that question. I think, we are 9 weeks into the climate core, and to describe it, we've kind of gone a mile wide and a mile deep. It's like drinking through a fire hose, truly. And I also think that because of very intentional design of the program, which I am a big fan of, you will be able to answer that question or be in a much better place to answer that question very early on.
And I'll just say that there are opportunities like to explore through the experiential learning, like the capstone. That's a great chance to kind of delve into a project that you might be interested in but not super familiar with, and test it out and through other internships as well. Other questions?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I was wondering, I think it was Evan and maybe Shawronna that mentioned something about startups and also Columbia Ventures. And I was wondering if you guys feel that the university supports aspiring entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So I got my opportunity at Columbia Technology Ventures, or CTV, through a TA who had previously worked there. So yeah, like always talk to your TAs. They know a lot. There's a lot of startups that Columbia directly works with and finances. So for Columbia, so I worked in the Carbon Tech Development Initiative, and they have grant money from NYSERDA, which they distribute to different startups throughout the city. And we also had like a climate week event recently where all the startups came together and we had a sort of like conference. And so if you want to work with a startup directly and see how Columbia supports them, like CTV is a great place to go. That's also an opportunity for you to meet a lot of the CEOs and founders of the startups and ask for internships directly, like with them, which a lot of people have had the opportunity to do. So, and New York in general has so many startups, especially in the carbon tech space. Like this is one of the best places to be. And yeah, I think, yeah, if you can get an opportunity at CTV, I think that would kind of meet what you're looking for.
Yeah, I do have a bit to say about this. I hope this answers your question. So thinking about which doors you want to open and the opportunities available to you, because I had, proactively found opportunities before arriving on campus, I found this thing called the Nucleate Activator, and what it is a consortium that you apply to that connects climate students to engineers who are developing or have developed some sort of climate mitigating or adaptation invention. Once you go to these events and you match with a founder, join a team, join up with an innovator, you are bombarded with resources and funding to take the idea and try to drive it into practice within the calendar year. It turns into a larger competition, and it is it's one of the really low-hanging fruits for current students to get involved in the startup world, to immediately connect with VCs who are looking to fund, to immediately connect with other incubators, other innovators, and pair up. And that was, it makes the process completely risk-free, and it's really fun. The other thing I'm involved in is the SEPA Global Policy Challenge, and I just happened to join a meeting with somebody who, a SEPA student who has an engineering background, who came up with a novel way to use data to influence the sustainability reporting and hopefully credit rating of foreign companies in the Global South. And I just stumbled into that, and now I'm on a team. And so these opportunities come as long as you look for them. And that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I'll leave it there.
Oh, I'd also like to emphasize that I know SPS also has an environmental entrepreneurs. It's called NVent Club. So I also know that networking, even for me, like I hear the word networking and I tense up. So just think of it, if that happens to you, you're not alone. But even just joining clubs a little bit more of a passive way, but that's a really great opportunity. I also know someone from my program, shout out to Sammy Hansen, or I might have pronounced her last name improperly, apologies. But she started with collaboration with our school, a founders matchmaking program. And I know that the school has been 100% in support of that. So it's, there's so many opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask questions, be curious, and you got this.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hello, thank you for your time. Quick question. If for those of you who had work experience before this program, if you can think of one thing that you've learned that you kind of wish you knew at your previous job, I would love to know what that is.
Who wants to jump in?
I will jump in because I, again, conducted bespoke consumer-facing sustainability research. So, for example, does the changing climate, affect the way that you perceive a brand or make decisions or purchases? So you get inside the minds of consumers, and when you come face to face with a client and you don't have the understanding of how do you actually make an initiative or project in your startup project within your company that can kind of actualize some of these results rather than just shift the way you think about branding and growth. I think that this program already has positioned me really well so that the next time I'm in a room with somebody who has the power to start an initiative at their company or within some organization, that I can speak to the broader impacts of an initiative, both within the company, how do you make things going, how do you secure funding, how do you allocate the resources to the right places, and what does this mean for the larger industry, environment, world, et cetera. So, yeah.
For me, I would say the program is really teaching me how to be more analytical. I worked as a policy associate before starting, and I used to do a lot of writing on policy issues and doing policy memos. And I really did not have a specific structure or way to approach it, but being in this program right now and having to do a lot of analytical work on different policies, I have to ask a lot of questions. So the structures that the program has allowed me to learn how to use that I really wish I had when I was working before this. So you get to learn a lot of skills, like how to synthesize information to be more concise and make sure that you're giving out what people care about. So just putting a lot more thought into how you're approaching work is something that I'm starting to really gain from the program.
I think we're at time, so thank you to our students. We're going to transition to breakout session now. I'll invite Alfred up to tell you where you're going to go.
Feel free to reach out to us as well if you have other questions.
Oh, that was generous. Watch out. All right. So this is the most exciting part, is the breakout session. So again, just as a quick recap, who's interested in climate finance? Raise your hand. Excellent. So you're going to go up one floor. In fact, I'm going to be up there as well, to the Skyline room. Raise your hand, sustainability management. Wonderful. Okay. I recommend staying here for the first session. In fact, if sustainability management's in the two choices that you're thinking about, Professor Stephen Cohen's going to be presenting during that first session. So definitely, if sustainability management's in the portfolio for you, feel free to stay in this room for your first breakout session. Next up is MPA in Environmental Science and Policy. Excellent. So not too far. You're just going to, right behind us and to the left is where Maya Lugo will be hosting that session. And I believe Dean Cohen's going to be joining that second session as well. Just, you know, a little bit of a highlight. And then sustainability science. Again, excellent. So you're just going to exit these doors and go down to the left. There's a boardroom right there. And then climate and society. Wonderful. You're going to go down to the garden level, which is the first floor, garden room 1, and then finally the MS in Climate program. Again, you're going to go downstairs to the garden room 2. They're right next to each other, okay? We do have a couple minutes, so if you do need to, really 3 minutes, if you need to take a restroom break or grab a coffee before the sessions officially begin, by all means, okay? And thank you, everybody.